let us offer praise to God, brothers.
The central character of the Georgian Supra is the word. That word is the toast. It is the Tamada. Now he delivers the first toast. This is a toast in praise of God. This is how a Georgian Supra begins. When was the first feast table laid on the territory of Georgia?
When monogamous settlements, communities of common origin and common blood, began to break up into neighborhood communities, it can probably be assumed that this was when the first table was laid for a guest.
Georgians gave bread and wine a ritual function 8,000 years ago.
In Georgia, a supra is also called piroba, a bread feast, and it is not simply about eating. Bread is a defining element in relationships between people.
In the ancient world, such feasts were presided over by the priestly caste. The priest was the Tamada of the ancient world.
Thousands of years ago, if a priest was responsible for organizing this ritual, today that role is performed by the Tamada.
The institution of the Tamada is evidence of the continuity of Georgian civilization.
This Tamada is 2,008 years old. He is a citizen of ancient Vani. He is seated in a chair, dressed in a short garment, holding a drinking horn in his hand and delivering a toast. This is a statue of a deity. He is a lord of the ancient world.
To this day, the Tamada at a Georgian Supra is called the Lord Tamada. The country that was ruled by a priestly caste lies about 300 kilometers from Tbilisi, at the ancient city of Vani. There are only temples, ritual grounds, and tombs here. The site is almost 3,000 years old. The city began with a gateway.
The gates open from the outside inward, and then, at the entrance, an altar can be seen where priests performed rituals. The ceremonies held in this city involved 3 participants: a ritual animal prepared for sacrifice to the deity, wine, and the priest who performed the ritual. 2,700 years ago, the wandering god Dionysus appeared in this city. Intoxication, revelry, masquerades, and feasting became part of the city's customary rhythm. He is everywhere here, in sculpture, on altars, on vessels. Yet here in Vani, he is met by a Colchian priest who, like a host and an experienced Tamada, begins by temporarily acknowledging the guest's priority.
Everything is associated with Dionysus, with wine, entertainment, and Bacchus. At the head of all this, of course, stood the city priest, who led these ritual celebrations in the temples and around these altars. Wine is the sacred product that participates in various kinds of ritual. This was so in ancient times, and it remains so today. The ceremonies of the Supra were led by the Tamada then, just as they are today. When and where does the word Tamada appear? The origin of the word Tamada, the time and place of its birth, are lost beyond the centuries. Its roots must be sought somewhere deep in the millennia. It came from the old Georgian word tavadi, someone empowered, the first among others. Today the word looks somewhat altered, but not so much that it violates the historical laws of development of the Georgian language.
The Tamada, already represented in such a highly developed form by the 8th century, must have been preceded by many decades or centuries of development for us to encounter such a refined form in the 7th and 8th centuries.
Our expert is right. In Kakheti, a wine deity called Badagoni was discovered 600 years older than the Tamada of Vani. He too is a Tamada. He too holds a drinking horn in his hand. The Tamada governs the Supra. People listen to him, and he also listens to others. That is the rule. At a classical Georgian Supra, this rule is not changed.
To this country,
Now the Tamada offers a toast that Georgians drink without exception at the Supra.
In ancient Colchis, 3 types of festivals must have been especially important. These were the New Year, which the ancient Colchians celebrated in spring, probably the harvest, celebrated in autumn, and the burial of the dead according to specific traditional rites. In almost every grave, vessels have been found from which people would drink after the burial and then smash the vessel near the feet of the deceased. Information about burial rituals was preserved on this silver belt. The deceased is shown feasting. People serve him and entertain him with music. In every age, humans perform a mystical ritual dedicated to the dead. Religious forms change, and with them, new customs become established.
Christian tradition has had a very great influence, as you know, on the traditional Georgian way of life.
The toast commemorating the dead also follows this rule. In every region of Georgia, people drink a toast to the dead when the hot dish traditional to that region is brought to the table. In the mountains of eastern Georgia, that dish is kinkali.
Friends, the hot kinkali has arrived, and now we must remember our deceased ancestors. May God save their souls.
According to Georgian tradition, the Tamada drinks the toast to the dead from a special vessel. At such times, the members of the Supra retain freedom of choice. They may ask for a special vessel or continue using their ordinary drinking vessels.
I can speak about the liturgical origins of the Georgian Supra. The structure of the Georgian Supra, its arrangement, its blessing-centered form. All of this, of course, comes from the liturgy. And when we speak of commemorating the dead, we know that bread is dipped into wine. This is essentially a sacred element where a person partakes of the blood and flesh of Christ.
Special drinking vessels are often used at the Georgian Supra. This variety and alternation of vessels can also be seen at weddings and public celebrations. The remembrance of the dead is usually followed by a toast to life, renewal, and hope.
God, never let us lose hope in tomorrow.
Many ritual wine vessels end in a conical shape. This is the drinking horn. Such a vessel remains relevant today and still performs the same function assigned to it thousands of years ago. The oldest metal drinking horn discovered so far on Georgian territory is 3,500 years old.
Drinking horns were specially made in this way because they cannot be set down. They have no base. It is a drinking vessel that passes from hand to hand and is mainly associated with ritual toasts.
When the priest drank from one vessel, all members of the group drank from that same vessel. This tradition of passing it from hand to hand, and probably the sense of unity embodied in it, later passed into Georgian folk traditions and continues to this day. The Tamada, who leads this unity, has his own place at the Supra, the head of the table. Why is the head of the table chosen as the Tamada's place? What is the reason for this?
The head of the table should always face the entrance, because when the Tamada, the leader of the Supra, sits at the head, he must be able to see what is happening in the space under his responsibility, who enters, who leaves, when a guest arrives, when new guests arrive, so that a toast may then be offered in their honor. There is an order to conducting a Supra, there are rules, and there is a culture. Feasting exists in other countries too, everywhere in the world. There is a certain order and a certain etiquette, but this is an entirely different phenomenon. What happens at a Georgian Supra is a culture, and according to the information I have, and I doubt there is information to the contrary, no other nation possesses a culture of this kind, charged with such values.
What meaning does the order of the Georgian Supra carry that distinguishes it from the table traditions of other countries? It is probably the Georgian code of hospitality.
Friends, I would like to propose a toast to our guest. The head of the household was supposed to be the servant of the guest, but he delegated this responsibility, giving a close associate the right to create an atmosphere in which the guest could easily be brought into the family space, under the protection of the guardian angel of the household, thereby creating a positive atmosphere.
The presentation of the pig's head to the Tamada is part of a 1,000-year-old tradition. It symbolizes the sacrificial victim. The head of the ritual animal was offered to temple complexes, and the right to dispose of it belonged to the priest. According to Georgian custom, wine is the most honorable drink. Therefore, the Tamada is also responsible for supervising its moderate consumption.
Wine has such an explosive power that it may subdue a person. There is also a Georgian saying, "Better to be beaten with a stick than beaten by wine." In other words, wine intoxicates. It is, I repeat, so explosive and full of surprises that a person must overcome the wine and not be overcome by it. He must master the wine himself, tame it.
Yet the Georgian cupbearer employed one trick, forcing someone to drink wine as a way of revealing that person's character.
A person entered into contact more easily, and if it was worthwhile to maintain relations with him, they continued. If this did not prove to be the case, or if he made a bad impression, then contact with him was ended.
Wine, revelry, and feasting have even become allies of the enemy. The temple city of Vani was attacked by an enemy precisely during a feast, while vessels filled with wine were being emptied during the ritual offering.
Indeed, in spring, when this ritual was being performed, a major ritual related to winemaking took place. The city was deliberately destroyed as a result of an enemy invasion. The enemy chose exactly this moment because no one had time to defend the city. Everyone was immersed in Bacchic revelry, and under those circumstances, the city was destroyed.
For Georgians, the Supra is the only place where laws are obeyed and the Tamada's instructions are followed. When the Tamada moves on to personal toasts, the most interesting part of the Georgian Supra begins.
Mr. Gocha has been very fortunate. God singled him out for goodness. Such words addressed to a person who is standing and listening to all this constitute a kind of ritual. Naturally, there is exaggeration. Every ritual needs something clearly emphasized. Its purpose is to instill goodness in that person. Perhaps at that moment he is not really like that at all, but he should become that way. From a medical point of view, this is the salutogenic effect of the Georgian Supra. At a Georgian Supra, people toast a person, praise him, and bring his positive qualities and abilities to the forefront. Ultimately, all of this creates an obligation for him to become such a person.
This is already a kind of interpretation of the theory of Set. Apparently, the authors of the Great Canon Law also took into account wine and the benefits associated with it. Therefore, they included a special canon excommunicating a man who refused to drink wine out of hatred for it. Many Europeans came to Georgia in the Middle Ages. A large part of their memoirs is devoted to descriptions of feasting and revelry. The abundance of wine and drinking competitions form one of the most prominent parts of these memoirs. In the classical land of wine, drunkenness is considered an unforgivable sin. Yet drunkenness supposedly does not exist here. That phrase, too, comes from European accounts. In the 17th century, Europeans spread the story throughout the world that Georgians drank toasts from women's shoes. 400 years ago, the story fascinated Europe. Very soon, generals and officers of imperial armies would use women's shoes as drinking vessels, and this would happen everywhere. In the 21st century, famous French producers of sparkling wine would include crystal women's shoes alongside wine in expensive gift boxes. Under the totalitarian regime, what could no longer be written, printed, or taught anywhere was spoken about by Georgians at the Supra. They passed the information from person to person and preserved it in this way.
At one time, there was a somewhat ironic Georgian expression used about a person. He received his education at the Supra. Why? Because a person received a great deal of information at the Supra. He paid attention to many things and became interested in different subjects. Later, he might pick up a book and read about something the Tamada had spoken about the previous day.
At the Supra, the energy rises, and so does the level of merriment. Alongside table songs, Georgians also transformed an entire system of church chants into folk tradition. Among them is Mravalzhamieri.
This is precisely ecclesiastical. Polychronion is a Greek word. It is a church hymn. It is performed in church, and then it passed into the Supra tradition.
The Supra is approaching its end. Ritual order requires the members of the Supra to thank the Tamada for leading the feast.
Cheers. Thank you very much for conducting such a beautiful and wonderful evening. May God always grant you the opportunity to lead evenings like this. Thank you for tonight, my dear.
Now it is time for the final toast of the Supra. According to Christian tradition, it is a prayer in praise of the Mother of God.
We began the Supra by praising the Lord, and now we will finish by giving thanks to the Mother of God. Most Holy Mother of God, help us and save us. Amen. This brings everything to an end, because in the Christian world, there is no greater sanctity than the Mother of God. This concludes and completes the Supra. This is how Christian saints participate in the Supra, and once again, it confirms that the Supra has a religious origin. The Georgian Supra should be recognized as a monument of intangible cultural heritage, just as we recognize Kivevri wine. Nowhere else in the world does this culture exist in this form, and it must be preserved. We should not fight against it. We should preserve it in its finest form and pass it on in its best form to future generations.